Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. The evil that men do lives after them. The evil that men do lives after them. Your evil today will blight your tomorrow. So do good today and avoid your sorrow. Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning, you better take warning. Take warning, you better do good. Let your light shine bright, let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should.
Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows, one set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. They hide the corruption inside the cup, look how we even set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them, they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Barretons too, cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You hiding corruption inside the cup, look how we even set up. The people fed up. I done fed up on the dirty water, low pressure, want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up on the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look with the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside.
All right, hey, I'm right here with you guys, and everybody in Guyana is fed up. Every single one The people in Blackbush Polder, they're fed up. The people in Linden, oh yeah, the people in Linden, majority of the people in Linden are fed up. The people in Bartica are fed up. If wherever you are right now, if you're fed up, just say fed up. That's all. You are fed up. I'm fed up. It's okay. It's okay to say that. Tomorrow morning on our right here on 107.1 FM, our religious program, because you know we have a religious program from 5 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, from 5 to 6. They will pray for you if you're fed up, but not because you are fed up means that you have to give up. A lot of us are fed up of a lot of things. Oh yeah, but it doesn't mean that you have to give up. So Lindeners, if you are fed up because of bad politics, if you are fed up because of lack of strong political leadership, do not give up. The people of Blackbush Polder, the same for all of you. Do not give up. Just do not give up. Don't you think when I was in solitary confinement, I was fed up? Of course you're fed up, but it doesn't mean that you have to give up. Read between the lines. You do not have to give up. Good night to all of you, wherever you are. So wonderful to see all you people here. Share the link. I know some folks at Congress Place have been quietly inboxing each other. And this is going to shock some of you. Or maybe it wouldn't shock some of you. When you don't say what they like, then their bumps raise, they get fed up. Oh yeah, they get fed up too. Because it's the wrestling. They want you to stick to their narrative. And when you don't, then they do a quiet boycott. Right, Princess and others? They do a quiet boycott. They text each other and they say to each other, don't watch Ben Sharp Radio. Oh, yes. Not only the PPP trench crappos are like that. Some of those who we are fighting for in the opposition are like that. Let's pull Ben Sharp down because we don't like what Ben Sharp is saying. Ben Sharp has to be pro Aubrey all the time. Come here every night and say Aubrey is just this and Bob. And the minute you try to be objective, their bumps raise. And then they go and they text each other. Don't watch Ben Sharp. Let's boycott Ben Sharp. So you think you guys think it's easy? Thanks, Lily Gulliver. Sorry. Do you guys think it's easy to fight the political enemies? And then you're fighting the political enemies, and they're those who are within your camp, Marcia Jackman. They're those who are within your camp, want to see you fail, want to see you disappear, all because you have a mind of your own, and you want to be objective, and because you're not playing ball with them. And now let me set this record straight. This station, 107.1 FM, is the people's station. We expose corruption. We fight for democracy. We fight for transparency across the board. And nobody, whether it's the corrupt, murderous, racist PPP regime, or some of those in the opposition who want to see us fail, who want to see us flat, right on our faces. It's not going to happen. And for those of you in the opposition, some of you, I know the bulk of you want democracy. I know the bulk of you want transparency. But because you don't stick to their narratives, there's no harmony, Glenn, there's no because nothing. There is no because nothing. And you see, this is English language. When is it say that I have to support the PNC or I don't have to support the PNC? English language harmony, Glenn. Let's go down that road. Harmony Glenn is saying, but Mark, that shouldn't bother you because just last week you said you can no longer support the PNCR. When did I say that? You see, English language. English language. When did I say that? Go back to my post, read and understand. Come on, simple English language. And now I've oftentimes say I'm not a member of the PNCR. I don't have to support any political party. But it's because of my love for the country. And I know that the PPP is so corrupt that we have to ensure that we vote the PPP out of office. And the time some of you take your energy and just like you saw that misguided comment from Harmony Glenn, that only last week you said you're no longer supporting the PNCR. When did I say that I'm no longer supporting the PNCR? You know, when did I say that? It's simple English language, guys. English language. And let me get to the point where I said, dear opposition, do not trust the corrupt PPP regime on Venezuela. Well, that's a different, and I'm talking about the opposition, mind you. Now let's go to the comment, I assume, and it says here, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that comment. I'm getting to that. I want to get to that so that folks can understand English language. That is what it's about. Now, here we go. It was 5 days ago. Dear opposition, y'all can't win an elections by cussing out and disrespecting the people of Linden. I'm a Linden, and I feel disrespected when a busload of women, leaders, party activists, and elected officials from Linden were subjected to a big dirty cuss out in Congress Place. I will rethink my position and will issue a statement soon. Simple English language. Will rethink my position. The leadership of the PNC need to offer an apology to the people of Linden. I will rethink my position. Big, big, big difference. And so some of them in the opposition are intolerant when it comes to opposing views. They're intolerant when it comes to democracy, and it has got to stop. Simple English language. The big enemy is not Ben Sharp. It is not Wayne Caesar. It is not others. The big enemy is the PPP regime. And the time y'all focus y'all energy to say boycott Ben Sharp radio, or Wayne Caesar must not be on Ben Sharp radio, or this person must not. Some of y'all are worse than the PPP. Some of y'all are worse than the PPP. For crying out loud. Somebody just said, them and realize that I'm a Linden. I was born in Linden, man. Good night to all of you. Good night to every one of you. Tom Anderson is with us tonight. We want to talk about a lot of things. Lots and lots of things we want to talk about. Forget about the little fried bakes and you know, if some don't want to watch the program, I'm not going to be missing. You guys are going to be missing out about the truth. That is all. You guys. And for 5 years, the PPP put the pressure, or they thought that they could pressure us at 107.1 FM so that we should shut down. A lot of you, Frank Rice, now is not the time for which part of Linden I'm from, man. Oh, man. We have a serious program going on, Frank Rice. For Christ out loud. What kind of thing is this? Now, for 5 years, another bombs raised by Sean Anthony Ben. Them is blind loyal followers. Good night to Sean Anthony Ben. He's a relative of mine, but he's a blind follower. He's not objective at all, but still go support his business. He has a body repair shop in South. Support him. He's a good guy, but he's a blind loyalist. Now, let me say this here, that for 5 years, the PPP couldn't break us. For 4 going on 5 years, they couldn't break us. And they're not going to do it. We stand our ground. We do not compromise on principles. We do not do that here on 107.1 FM. We fight for the people of Guyana. We don't fight for an individual. And now we know that the PPP has to go. But what we have been saying is those who are in the opposition, got to get their act together. Otherwise, can't eat everybody's dinner. I know some want me to go in the trench. I'm very good at being in the trenches, mind you. But we have an elections to win. That's all I'm saying. Right, Sean High? Sean Anthony Ben, we have an elections to win. Y'all got to stop wearing skirts, Sean Anthony Ben. Y'all got to stop getting vexed. Y'all bums got to stop raising. And this is a warning for you, Sean Anthony Ben. You're my cousin. But the next time you walk into a family reunion with skirt on, it's going to be a different issue. Good night to all of you. Mr. Tom Anderson, how are you doing, my friend?
Good man, I see things are getting crazy, Mark.
To talk about, but before that, I wanted to give the Village Voice a plug and say to folks, go to the Village Voice. Some of them, and yes, forget about the PPP. Some of them in the opposition also want to boycott the Village Voice because the Village Voice ain't saying what they want said. Is that how you want to get into office? Is that exactly how you want to get into office? Oh, man. Oh, let me address this trench crapper, Angerado Mirage. You know, I know her since she was in New Amsterdam prison. She was in New Amsterdam prison. I'm glad that you're out. Finally, you're out. Please, Angerado Mirage, give my regards to your wife. Now, this is what she's saying. How Jumbi carry away your wife? Why don't you ask Jack Dale how we name Tekwe his wife? Why don't you ask Anil those questions? Why don't you ask some of them PPP vagabonds them questions? Oh man, y'all ain't got nothing new for come with. But good to see you, Angerado Mirage. Glad that you're out of New Amsterdam prison. Hope you're not folding up that thing and putting it in and fetching it any longer. But good to see you on my program. Good to see that you're tasting freedom now. People now are calling for Tom for president. What's going on with you guys? Everybody's for president now? All right. Tom, good night to you. And they're saying Tom for president. Tom for president. How have you been, Tom?
Great, Mark. Good night. Good night, everybody. Glad to see everybody again. And yeah, man, this sounds like a wild night tonight. Mark, you sound pretty hyped up, man. How's it going?
I'm all hyped up. And if they put me at the Guyana-Venezuela border right now, one man alone, I will chase Maduro away. One man alone, I will make the entire Venezuelan population be afraid of me right now. So here's what we want to do as we get down to some business. Thank you all so much for sharing the link, because we have lots of links to share tonight. And the links we will concentrate on the corrupt PPP regime. Let's begin with this here. Somebody sent me this and they said this is what the PPP is doing. Now, I don't know why they sent me this. Surely that can't be my cousin Sean Anthony Ben. But somebody said this is what the PPP is doing. I don't know, to certain individuals, ethnic group, this is what they're doing. Catching them, tying them up, and take them over to Freedom House and other places. We'll get back to that shortly, though. But Tom, what's happening as you've been looking into Guyana and the Venezuela situation? I know you spoke about that so many times. You've warned us so many times. What's happening from your standpoint?
Well, like I said before, you know, you guys, the problem that's happened that's going on in Guyana right now is that there isn't a legitimate political party in charge creating a real infrastructure for the people to function in politically. There's no infrastructure for the media, so no one knows what's really going on. There isn't any type of real news service to allow people to be able to hear what the facts are, right? And so everything is controlled by the PPP. It's a winner-take-all system, and the corruption is off the chain, and no one knows where the money's going. And you have people, you know, arguing back and forth. Should we try to renegotiate the contract with ExxonMobil? No, we shouldn't. On and on and on. And so with all that chaos, what happens is people around the world who aren't so chaotic, like the Chinese government, like the Russians, like our government, United States, big corporations, right? Sinopec, a lot of big corporations look at the situation and they say, well, we can take advantage of that. We can make a lot of money off of that. And the people that live there aren't going to know what's happening because they don't have a government that really represents them. So I've been saying for the longest, until Guyana is able to get independence, until all parties politically start representing the people and put the people above all and start creating systems and infrastructure to put in place where the people are empowered, what's going to happen is some outside bullies are going to come in and steal everything from you. And so that's what's happening now, where you have Maduro looking at the situation next door and he's saying, well, I need to make a move because the Americans are putting pressure on me. 5 days ago, Trump removed the oil license for Chevron to be able to get oil from Venezuela, and that literally cut off their funding. So now Maduro has no money coming in, and he's looking for cash. And what does he see? Well, next door, they're not organized. Next door, they don't know what they're doing. So why don't I just take their oil? That's what he's doing. And we're in a situation now where the world is looking, and the U.S. government saying, hey, don't do that. But how much are we really going to put in to protect a government that doesn't even protect its own people? That's the issue here. You cannot expect an outside government to protect your oil interests if your own government doesn't really care about the oil interests for the people. They care about it for themselves and their own power in the higher ups within the PPP, but do they care about enriching the people of Guyana? I don't think so. So because of that, no outside country is going to care about enriching Guyana. So what is the situation? From what I can tell, you've got Maduro calling Irfan Ali the Zelensky of the Caribbean, saying that Irfan Ali is trying to cause conflict everywhere throughout the Caribbean. And so why is he saying that? He's saying that because if you look at Zelensky's lined up with Israel, right? He just is. And so what Maduro's saying cryptically and what the Venezuelan government is saying cryptically to their Russian supporters is, hey, come help us in taking this oil from Guyana, because they're led by a guy who is a Zelensky, who's supported by Israel, who's going to do this, who's going to do to us what he's done to you guys in Ukraine. That's what they're saying, right? And then when you look a little deeper, you look at who the PPP are being advised by, and it's Mike Pompeo. Well, Mike Pompeo is the guy who put those, who okayed the assassination of the Iranian general. Okay, that's why he needed the security force, because Mike Pompeo is so pro-Israel and so much of a defendant of Israel that he went and helped kill their most highest regarded general. Okay, so, and also Mike Pompeo is the guy who supported huge sanctions on the Iranians in order to support Israel. So you have a situation where Maduro's really asking the Russians for help, right? That's what he really wants. He wants them to help. He wants them to help him because Trump took away his money through Chevron. And he sees Irfan Ali as a puppet of Israel because he's partnered with Mike Pompeo. That's what's going on. And so the question is, will the Russians help? Will the Russians help Maduro? I don't think so. And here's the reason why. Just today in Miami, Lincoln Diaz-Balart passed away. He was the author of the huge sanctions put on Cuba under the first George H.W. Bush administration. He was the guy who supported Brothers to the Rescue. He was one of the most ardent attackers of Castro. Castro was his cousin. Okay, so Lincoln Diaz-Balart, a hero in Miami of the Cuban dissidents, who was totally anti-Castro, who was really a thorn in the side of Russia this entire time, he passed away today. You have Bob Menendez, who I did work on. He's going to prison. That's another guy who was an anti-Castro guy who battled the Russians. And so we're in a situation now where Cuba is no longer the pawn of the Russians to cause us trouble in our backyards in Cuba. Okay, that's not what's happening anymore. The Russians aren't using Cuba as a pawn anymore. Trump is now agreeing with the Russians and siding with the Russians, especially on Ukraine, right? And here's the big deal. ExxonMobil has had huge deals with the Russians in the past. This Ukraine war made them lose over $4 billion. Okay? $4 billion. The Russians have told ExxonMobil, hey, we're ready to let you back in the country. And here's what's even better for Exxon by partnering with the Russians. They get to get oil up in the Arctic with the Russians. So Exxon is in a position where they might not even care about the oil in Guyana anymore. They might not even care about the headaches because they can now partner with the Russians. So in other words, what I'm saying overall is Guyana is becoming a pawn within the game of international politics, geopolitics. And what you have is Maduro trying to get the Russians involved, which probably is not going to happen, but he's doing it by pointing out that Irfan Ali is, in his mind, a puppet of Israel. So what does that? So what does that mean for Guyana? What that means is it looks like you guys are going to be sold off to some type of Israeli Chinese interests where Exxon might be leaving. Okay, the Exxon's suffering from a lawsuit right now in the United States. Is very serious under the Trump administration for hacking in their opponents, emails and other things. And so Exxon might exit.
I assume this is what the DC, this is what you're talking about, the
That's
DC
right.
power broker
Yes.
embroiled in a global hacking scandal.
Yes, that's ExxonMobil. So there's huge pressure being put on ExxonMobil. On top of that, Chevron has been told no more. And so it looks like to me Guyana's being used as a pawn in geopolitics. And it looks like a new deal is going to be cut where Mike Pompeo is going to be a part of the negotiating team and helping his interests, who, according to Maduro, are Israeli interests, basically, from Maduro's perspective, right? And that's going to entail probably a Chinese oil company or something like that, because China wants all of the natural resources in South America, especially out of the Amazon. They want a clear cut through Guyana, Venezuela, Colombia, and Panama. They want it all.
So let me ask you this, Tom, and thank you so much for all of that piece of information. Yep. I know you have more and more, but do senior politicians in Guyana, quote unquote leaders, political leaders in Guyana, do you think they're aware of all of these things and that Guyana is being made a pawn?
No, they have no clue. They're too busy fighting each other. I have been saying over and over and over again that the petty fights that are happening in Guyana doesn't help the people. It's good to have political fights, but you should be having fights over things that matter to the people, not low-level stupid stuff, not stupid Bush stuff. So what's happened is the country, the leaders of Guyana have not stepped up to the plate. They have not done what they need to do to be independent. And so now the world is using your country as a pawn.
And as we saw in 2020, became a pawn. The democracy was hijacked. The country was hijacked, and billions of dollars being shipped out of the country. And the people are left to basically punish. The people in Blackbush, the people in Linden, people are just fighting for crumbs. And you have a corrupt regime. The PPP regime is just throwing little crumbs at people and expect them to be satisfied. The country is lost right now. Tom, I have a quick question as it pertains to this here. I want you to interpret it. I know you did before, but it's very important that people be reminded of what Jack Deere said and the promise he made to Venezuela.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
So there it is. Jack Deere was talking about giving away a piece of Guyana's, territory and work along with the Venezuelan. He did that a couple of years ago. He has met with the Venezuelan people. He met with a lot of them. Some of them are spies for the Venezuelan government in the military and so forth. Thousands of them have been given ID cards to register and vote in the next upcoming election. But how dangerous is this statement from Jack Deere? Give a piece of Guyana to Venezuela.
Well, what he was doing there was giving away the oil before it was even touched. Because when he's talking about a maritime area, where is the oil? It's in the maritime area. So he's not talking about a path for Venezuela. What he's talking about is giving Venezuela oil in the maritime area that is now legally Guyana's and was before. So before you guys even had access to the oil, he was trying to give it to Venezuela.
Absolutely. It was pretty obvious what Jack Day was doing then and what they continue to do now. They continue to just give Guyana away. And as long as they get a couple crumbs in their pockets and they sprinkle a little crumbs to the people, if it reaches to the people, that is, they are satisfied with that. They have sold the country out, completely out. But does it surprise you, though, as someone sitting on the outside looking into what's happening in Guyana, that every time there's a situation between Venezuela and Guyana, that's the only time the PPP regime, Irfan Ali and those other guys, they see some sort of usage. Maybe it's for propaganda purposes to suddenly invite the leader of the opposition for a quick handshake, and that's it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, right now, just from my perspective on the PPP, they are in a position where they have so fumbled the ball and things are so out of their control that they're just grasping for straws, and they're hoping that people like Mike Pompeo can save them. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for a helping hand. They're hoping that the Trump administration can save them, can help them. But they are in deep waters, okay? And many, many pieces around the globe are moving. And at the end of the day, their only promise that they have to the international players who are now pressuring them is that they can control the nation and control the people and keep them under control so that the oil can stay on the market. And that's what's going on right now, right? They're basically saying that they can be the overseers for the sale of all of the natural resources of Guyana in a way where the international players can make huge profits and the people of Guyana will suffer. That's what's happening, and that's the bottom line, and there's no getting around that.
But we see exactly how, and you've been on this program numerous times when you saw the evidence of how the PPP regime, how they treat citizens all across Guyana. Even just the other day, Tom, I'm not sure if you're able to understand this, but people all across Guyana are feeling the squeeze. Listen to this, gentleman.
So it's in the rice price.
The rice price, something to do, they're going to talk to me, man, somebody. They're not talking to me, they're going to tell me nothing. And they're going to people every week, okay.
So, Tom, that's Guyana, mind you. That's Guyana. You got what the guy was saying there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the prices of rice.
And people are punishing and all manner of things. Yep. Tom, you've been looking into Guyana for far too long not to understand the people. And the point that I'm trying to make is that this PPP regime, Irfan Ali and these guys, do not care about Guyanese. People are punishing throughout the country, but yet every time Venezuela, those mad people, not the Venezuelan people, but Maduro and his gang, anytime they do something to provoke Guyana, that is when Irfan Ali, they pick the phone up and say, Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition, we need to sit and talk and to take a unified front on all of this. And once that is done, they get their photograph with Aubrey Norton, they get his photograph, and that's it. And then when this situation is settled, back Venezuela quiet, the PPP regime, they're back to their old tricks, discrimination, beating, and all sorts of things to citizens. Some people are upset that Aubrey Norton took time out to even go and shake hands and meet with Irfan Ali. Maybe you have a different view on that.
Well, he doesn't have a choice. I mean, he has to, and the reason why is because if too much political look, already the PPP has the nation of Guyana in a really bad position, and so anything that makes it worse could make it so that everything collapses. So Aubrey Norton had no choice. He had to meet. He had to show publicly that there's unity, because if he doesn't do that, then you have a situation where the powers of the world who are coming down on Guyana are going to believe that they could easily collapse everything whenever they want, and that would basically, instead of giving the nation of Guyana some of the profit or some of the money coming from natural resources, they'll just take it all and give you nothing, right? And so Aubrey Norton has to meet, because that's the only way that right now the people of Guyana will get anything, because what you guys are dealing with are people who want to steal everything from you and leave all of you dead. That's the bottom line. They couldn't care less. And the PPP, they're in a position where they're either clueless or they don't care or both. And they're in a position where they've done so much harm and so much bad for so long that they really can't stand up to anyone, right? And so they've got to get the help of Aubrey Norton. They've got to make it seem like the people support them, because if it doesn't happen, then I'm telling you, whatever little bit Guyana's getting now, it will be gone tomorrow.
I don't know, and thank you so much for your take on that. But it is true. The PPP, they have been selling out Guyana all across. They have no brain, none whatsoever. And the guys in the opposition, they have, I noticed Aubrey Norton took along with him a very senior and experienced diplomat by the name of Keith. I'm sorry. You guys know the Keith Austin, I believe. Yeah, Keith Austin Sr. Is it? Ronald Austin, sorry. I don't know how I forget Mr. Ronald Austin, a very senior guy when it comes to Guyana border issue. And the PPP they have no one at all. Jack Deere doesn't know about the border issue. He can't read and write properly. Irfan Ali is worse. Mark Phillips doesn't have a clue at all. And so you are correct. These guys in the PPP are clueless. They cry and complain about 18 million US dollars signing bonus, but they're not going to tell the people that's exactly what was able to sustain and to take the Venezuelans to the international court under the coalition government. But they got a Pacu out in St. Vincent who cares only about himself. That is Ralph Gonzalez, who calls himself the world boss. He met the world boss. Look, right after he met with those Pacus from Guyana, Irfan Ali and those others, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he went and he held on to Maduro and those Venezuelan people with a map showing a large portion of Venezuela, or all of Venezuela belongs to all of Essequibo belongs to Venezuela. Lots of traitors on board, including Irfan Ali. They are traitors. They are basically treasonous. That is who they are. They do not care about Guyana. They do not care about the Guyanese people. But here's the question, Tom. Mike Pompeo is pomposetting himself, so to speak, as though he cares about Guyanese. We know that that is not true. His concern is about the oil and maybe some sort of secret deal he has with Irfan Ali and the PPP regime. Can Mike Pompeo be the sort of conduit to the Trump administration on behalf of the Guyana government?
He can't, because Mike Pompeo is a spy. That's what he is. He's a spy, no matter how you want to cut it. And not only is he a spy, he's a king of spies. He was the head of the CIA. He is a king of spies. And so how does it work when a spy deals with other countries outside of the United States? The way it works is they are given the green light to violate every law in the universe. Mike Pompeo, when he's in Guyana, can do whatever he wants, breaking the laws in Guyana, and he will never get in trouble. That's how it works with spies. And so you have a situation in your nation where you have a king spy in advising the leader of your government, and the spy has no need whatsoever to follow any law whatsoever in Guyana. As a matter of fact, him following laws will look bad on him, because spies are supposed to break the law when they're outside of the United States. So that's what you guys have going right now in Guyana. And it may seem like he's a lifeline, but you cannot deal with spies. And I'm not trying to knock down the US government right now or anything like that. I'm just telling you all what the reality is. This is how spies function. When they leave the United States, they break the law. And if they're not breaking the law, they're not trying hard enough. That's how it's viewed. And so that's what you guys are dealing with. And it's really not going to be a helpful situation for you. That's just the bottom line.
So thank you so much, Joe. But so there's not a win-win situation for the Guyanese people. You have said it, that the Guyanese people are going to suffer from this. They're just basically pawns right now. And the glutton people, the greedy folks are basically out for the oil and oil deal and the billions of dollars in oil deal. 5-10 years from now, if the PPP, we hope that the PPP is not in office, but 5-10 years from now, there will not be a Guyana. Guyana will be worse than Haiti. How should the people get out of this headlock, so to speak? A monkey wrench.
I've been saying it for a long time now, that the people have to demand a government that represents them. And what's happening is the people are falling for different things like the cash payment here and the property giveaway there and all this other stuff. That stuff doesn't matter. What matters, what the people should be requesting and desiring, right, is a true political system that they can depend upon, so that when an election happens, everyone believes in it. The people should be demanding on an education system where the government's taking as much money as they can from the oil wealth and from the other resource wealth to educate the younger generations coming up, to educate the people, to provide more college education. Because these are the types of, in order to be able to defend yourselves and have your own independence, you have to be educated. And you cannot depend on outsiders to do that for you. And so you have to have the education. You have to have the political structure so that when you do have elections, you can believe in them. And then ultimately with all of it, right, you have to have a structure business-wise and government-wise and with the police, where everyone knows that even the watchers are being watched. You have to have a situation where everyone is held accountable. This is what the people need to be asking for, more so than a cash grant, more so than a plot of land. You guys need your elections. That's more important. I'm telling you, you need your education. That's more important, right? You need to make sure that you have military vessels in the ocean and radar systems to protect the oil wealth that you do have. Like you need that as well, right? You have to have all of this. And that's the type of stuff that the people have to demand from their representatives and government. And it's just not happening, right? And so the people have to organize around this. They have to put effort into it. You have to protest. How many times have you seen a protest in Guyana about making sure that the election system is done properly? There aren't that many, but that's what should be happening. How many protests have there been for a better education system? How many protests have there been to have a system in place to ensure that you have military assets and radar in place to protect your oil wealth? No one cares about that, right? But since no one cares about that, the people, guess what happens? The PPP and the leaders get away with not providing it. And since you don't have that, you don't have independence. And since you don't have independence, outside forces are going to bully you now. That's just the bottom line.
I saw a comment. Thank you so much, Tom. And thank you for all those of you who have joined us, and even those who talked about boycotting Benchop region. Just a few of them. They're really that effective. They're still peeping. But I saw a comment, I believe, from Hazel Johnson. And I want to read that comment. It was something that I want to follow up with a question to you, Mr. Anderson. But, I noticed Eon Williams is saying that Mike Pompeo realized that Guyana has two PACUs. That is Irfan Ali and Jack Dio. And then Hazel Johnson's comment is basically the government don't care about education. Look at Ali. Well, that's not the comment I was looking for, but I agree with her on that. you are correct that those who are in office just do not care at all. And those who are supposed to be helping the people to stand up for their rights, they're just not doing it at all. And that is why every Tuesday, I believe, there's just Rhonda. And Rhonda Lane, speaking of Rhonda Lane, she's saying they have that every Tuesday, but tomorrow, Rhonda Lane said she's not going to be out there. And I don't know why Rhonda Lane isn't going to be out there, but at the end of the day, we need to see thousands of people out there standing up for what's right. But they're just not doing it. The leaders are not doing it. Those who are representatives in parliament are not doing it. So I'm not sure what's happening in Guyana, but more needs to be done. That is all. More needs to be done to see the backs of the corrupt PPP.
Well, you know, Mark, one of the big things that could help the people immediately is just having a better media, right? The news media is seriously lacking in Guyana. And so there isn't a news media there to question some of the things happening in Georgetown. There isn't a media there to question Irfan Ali in a legitimate way on some of the things that are going on. It just isn't there. And you can't depend on the international media to do the job because they have no idea what's going on in Guyana. They've got no clue, right? And so I would say from the beginning, what would make the biggest impact of all is if the business owners in Guyana, those especially Black business owners, African business owners, right, or business owners who are who support the opposition, you need to put your money together. You need to help create a real media infrastructure in Guyana. If you have a real media, which you can do very quickly, if you have real media asking real questions, holding the people in power accountable for what's going on and letting the people know what's happening, that actually will change a lot in Guyana.
Well said, real media indeed. And even it's a fight. Guyana is a weird place. It's a fight all across the board. It's a fight. People just want you to sing their tune all the time. And the minute you don't sing their tune, their bumps raise and all sort of things. But thanks that tonight we have a very large audience, despite some of the naysayers. Not just on the government side, but some of them on the opposition. I wish I'm going to talk much more about that. But we're watching the Trump administration and its take on Guyana. Marco Rubio is the Secretary of State, and the PPP guys seem to think that Marco Rubio loves them. And then, not so long ago, a couple of days ago, the State Department, the Trump administration is saying to countries, especially those in the Caribbean, that, hey, if you continue to use Cuban doctors in your country, you're going to be faced with sanction. What is your take on that, please, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, this is... the problem that's happening now with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, is he's trying to carry on the Cold War approach to Cuba. He's trying to carry on the legacy of Lincoln Diaz-Balart, and he's trying to basically treat Cuba as if Fidel Castro is still there and threatening America with nuclear missiles. That's what he's trying to do, right? And he's trying to do that because there are interests in the Cuban community, especially in Miami, who want him to do this, right? And Marco Rubio is not an independent guy. He has to go with what his political backers want him to go with, and that's what that's all about. With that said, I would ignore him. I really would, because I don't believe that there's any real backing for pressure on Cuba anymore. I just believe that Cuba is going to end up opening up, and we are going to end up having real relations with them, whether Marco Rubio wants it or not. Now, yeah, he's Secretary of State, but it cannot continue what he's trying to push. The idea that Fidel Castro is still there with nuclear missiles pointing at us, that's not a reality. That's nowhere near the reality. Okay. As a matter of fact, the best way he can support the people of Cuba is to help get rid of the sanctions so that their economy can open up and they can actually get oil and other things they need. So I don't believe that this is going to last much longer. I don't believe what he's pushing with this with his stance on Cuba is going to be there much longer. As a matter of fact, he's going to end up being the guy that's going to be the Secretary of State when the United States and Cuba resume regular, normal relations, and you're going to see Cubans in Miami heading back to Cuba to buy properties, get their properties and other things back. That's what I think. If I were to guess, I'd say that's where this is going. So I would totally ignore that order from Marco Rubio. I would deal with the Cubans if I were the people in the Caribbean. Screw that. And let him just cry in the corner. Who cares? Because he's got no legs on this. Like I said, Lincoln Diaz-Balart died today. That entire movement, that entire anti-Fidel Castro movement is over. And it's time for him to wake up and change course. And the people of the Caribbean and South America should force it on him. That's how I see it.
All right, Tom, as we look at the time, though, looking at some of the comments here, Ian Williams come to the front of the class again. Ian Williams, I don't know how come this person is so bright tonight. Thank you, Ian Williams. A lot of sense here. Ian Williams again. He says, Tom, the media in Guyana is muzzled by this corrupt government. In other words, the government is so corrupt that they muzzle the media. And if the media, if you don't take being muzzled by them, they go after, they jail you, or they kill you, or you have to go out in exile, or they have what is called an economic embargo against your media houses to force you to sell. Some of the independent media houses have sold out. We're hearing that Sharma TV station sold. We just heard that some other independent media houses have sold out to friends of the PPP regime, as in the case with one popular TV station in Guyana that's situated on the east coast of Demerara. Guess what? Is now saying that they're in full support of the People's Progressive Party. And that's what's happening. If you take a look at his so-called, Jack Deo's so-called press conference, there's nothing there to offer. And it's just bullyism. They just sit there and just gaffe. The media, the reporters do not ask tough questions at all. All you have is some lick-lick individuals. And by now you should know what we do mean by lick-lick individuals. And that's all. But what sort of hope, as we prepare to leave this evening, Tom, what sort of hope from a political standpoint that you have in your message, your closing remarks for the Guyanese people?
Well, I think ultimately the best part of Guyana is the people. Now, the people may be slow to move, and the people may not be the most sophisticated on the geopolitical stage, but you don't need to be, right? What you need to be is you need to know your nation. You need to know your people. You have to have the ability to come together. You have to have the ability to be able to see past the trinkets and the silly arguments that are happening right now, and be able to come together as a nation, as a people, to be able to stand independent of whatever is happening geopolitically. You have to be able to do it. And I believe the people of Guyana can do it. That's why I come on as much as I do. That's why I speak the truth, and I try to allow everyone there to know what's happening, at least from an outsider's point of view here in America, because it's important that you guys hear the truth from this perspective. It's important that you hear it so that you can know that it's time for you to move. It's time for you to mobilize. It's time for you to put petty differences aside, and it's time to get your independence, because these nations who are around you like wolves are looking to tear you apart. And the only thing that's going to save you is if the people yourselves, not the PPP, not the PNC, the people have to come together and stand tight as one for your independence. And so that's the positive thing, because I believe the people of Guyana have it in them. I just believe that the world is underestimating them, and I am not. So that's the hope that I see, and that's what I pray for every day.
Tom, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate your optimism for Guyana, and not only for Guyana, for around the world. There are people suffering in lots of other countries, but you specifically take your time to talk to the audience, talk to the Guyanese people. And I see that passion, I see that care in you that you have had during the course of our friendship for over 15 years, as you have been looking into Guyana on numerous matters indeed. And you continue to do so, and you continue to do so even without getting a check from 107.1 FM or anybody to do that. And so I want to take this time out to say thank you on behalf of the Guyanese people. Sorry, I'm sounding like the Ukrainian president. Nobody's beating me here to say thank you, Tom. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hope to see you soon, maybe sometime later on this week.
Will do. All right. Have a good night, guys. Appreciate it,
man. Yeah. Tom Anderson there for you guys. My name is Mark Bencha, but we're not going as yet. Let's head back to Linden. quickly, I want to talk about something in Linden. It is disrespectful, and I hope the Lindeners, the people in Linden, are watching. I hope they're paying attention. And somebody mentioned earlier that they never knew that I was from Linden. Of course, I'm a Linden guy, born in Linden, Mackenzie Hospital, grew up as a little boy before I left there in the some Third Alley, Polka Street area, and so forth and so on. But having said that, though, that's not the that's not the focus tonight. But the PPP regime is extremely disrespectful to the people of Linden. We know that they're disrespectful to the people of Guyana, all the people of Guyana. But just imagine that Mashramani first started out in Linden. And yesterday was supposed to be Mash Day in Linden. Mash Day didn't seem as though it was Mash Day. It appears as though it was Mash Up Day, because the people weren't mashing how we are accustomed or how we have seen people mash in the past. The same for Georgetown. People weren't mashing how they're supposed to mash. That is because the PPP regime has done everything, every single thing to mash up mash, whether in Georgetown, whether in Linden, whether in New Amsterdam. And how on earth are you going to have Mashramani celebration in Linden on the same day you're having New Amsterdam Mash? And all of the people, some of them were in Freedom House doing TikTok and all sort of things they were doing. Oh, yeah. While one of them is no longer on social media, the other one was in Freedom House in New Amsterdam doing the regular thing, trying to catch, if you know what I mean, trying to catch. And meanwhile, the people in Linden continue to suffer and being disrespected by corrupt officials of the PPP regime. Then they're going to rush to Linden and say, oh, we love you guys. Oh, we're giving you some contracts, some money to clean trenches, to clean latrines, to clean gutters, and so forth. That is how they value the people of Linden and other places. But let me also say this. Forget about the PPP regime. It is expected for them to disrespect mainly predominantly African Guyanese communities and villages and so forth. And of course, they disrespect other ethnic groups, our Indian brothers and sisters, Lachman Aziz and Jamal and so forth. Good night to all of you. And now we see how they treat the people of Blackbush Pola, the rice farmers. We see how they treat sugar workers and so forth. The PPP just don't care. But now let's get back to MASH. And I saw MASH in New Amsterdam. I've gone to Mashramani in New Amsterdam. I loved it. Lots and lots of people were in the streets. Mashramani in Georgetown, beautiful. Mash in Linden, beautiful. It's all gone. Compliments of the corrupt PPP, the corrupt racist PPP regime. And this is what I would have done. You'd have been sure, the political leaders in the opposition, we should have been able to ensure, and the leaders in Region 10 to have the biggest mash for 2025, to send a political message to the corrupt PPP regime, and to send a message to some of those individuals in Linden who are taking crumbs from the PPP regime, that enough is enough. And so that message should have been sent via MASH. But instead, there was nothing. And you have guys like Conan Marshall plugging out. Plugging out. You got to understand when the brother plug out or when a sister plug out. It means that they are frustrated. It means they know that the PPP doesn't care. But they also want to see political leaders in the opposition who care about the people, not just in Linden, but across the country. And so more and more you will find people plugging out. And when people plug out, some of you in the opposition want to know why they plug out. It doesn't matter whether they pass gas on the air or not. That's irrelevant. But they plug out. They plug out because they are frustrated. They plug out because they want to see proper representation. They don't want people zooming in with fancy cars. That doesn't solve the problem. Material things and brainwashing individuals doesn't solve the problem at all. People are looking for true leaders, not wishy-washy individuals who just taking advantage of a situation because they get access to little couple dollars and all these things that they could roll up with a nice fancy bicycle, fancy motorbike, fancy cars, and think that that is going to solve the problems that Guyanese are faced with every single day. It is a long-term plan that is needed. And for long-term plans, you have to have people with a vision for the country. Look at the vision. Look at the vision that Burnham had for the country. A lot of people and a lot of things are still around and alive today as a result of that vision of Linden, Forbes, Sampson, Burnham. What the PNC folks and those in the opposition need to do is to remind the people of Guyana every single day, remind them about the roads, the Linden-Suzdijk Highway Road built by Burnham under the PNC, the Quarantine Highway built by Burnham under the PNC, Maikoni, Abari, and all these things, all the infrastructure, all these different things. Rice farmers could never have been complaining on the Burnham government. GRB, the Guyana Rice Board out in Blackbush Polar and other places. Rice farmers got the best thing, the best prices for their paddies. Nobody, whether it's Udan Rice Mill, whether it's Rice Mill, Hack Rice Mill over at Hawk Style and so forth, rice millers could not have robbed rice farmers under the PNC regime, under Burnham regime. It is a fact. And these things must be told so young people can understand that this regime that is in office right now is a brainless, visionless regime. They're a bunch of kleptomaniacs stealing your monies every single day. They're robbing people. That is what's happening. This has nothing to do with people who evaded taxes, didn't pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes, now rolling up, suddenly feel as though they're a savior for Guyana. Read between the lines, guys. Read between the lines. What Guyana needs is visionaries, visionary politicians, visionary leaders and politicians who are willing to stand up for your right, who are willing to say enough is enough. Those are the people that you need. And at the end of the day, leaders and a government with a proper plan, not a plan for today. Run out and get your cash grant, or run out and take a little crumbs from somebody. No, they need a plan that could see Guyana flourish for the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 15 years, the next 20 years. That's the sort and beyond. That's the sort of political leadership you want. And those of you, stop with the emotional way that anytime somebody comes and drop a little thing over or pull up with a little fancy car or whatever, this body for president, that body for president. Soon y'all might say Debbie Pitt for president, Lachman Aziz for president, because Lachman Aziz give you a little couple pound of beef, a little extra beef and so forth. Sandra Brotherson for president, right? Ian Williams for president. That is how you guys, y'all jump from here and there, and then Ben Sharp pull up with a little bicycle. Y'all ain't get time with Ben Sharp, but until Ben Sharp pulls up with a Lamborghini, Ben Sharp for president, Lyndon Elliott for president. Y'all are confused. Tony Hunt for prime minister. Francine, I don't know where Francine going, but Francine Cruz, Ian Williams and all, everybody, y'all got to calm down and watch the right. And when you make choices, when you promote individuals, it's not promoting them because of self-serving reasons. It's promoting them because you know they have a vision. Now, nothing was wrong with saying Burnham for president. Burnham, we know, well qualified and beyond, and all manner of things, and the other leaders we have seen. Vision for Guyana. Vision. Not people attempting to brainwash you and playing games with you and all manner of things. Aren't you guys tired of the games? Aren't you guys tired of being brainwashed? Aren't you guys tired of being used and abused and so forth and so on? Wake up. Wake up. And shame on the PPP regime for what they have done to the people of Linden. Shame on them for what they have done to the people of New Amsterdam, and by extension, to the people of Guyana. Abby D'Souza for president. Everybody wants to run for president now. Give me my car keys. Let me get out of here in my Lamborghini, and let me pull up in Linden, and let me see how they are going to... I love you guys. Hey, forget about the couple of people who are telling you Alpha boycott Ben Shop Radio. We have had a large audience tonight. Continue to share the program. Continue to spread the word. Spread the word. Here, what we're going to do, we're going to increase some programs right here on 107.1 FM. It's an elections year. We will have some of you to have your own program right here on 107.1 FM. And we don't care whether the PPP doesn't like it. We don't care. We don't care. The PPP has to be voted out of office, and they will be voted out of office. In the process, some of them in the opposition going to get some scratches. But now when you get some scratches, your bum's going to raise. And oh, Mark don't like us. Mark don't like this body. Mark didn't. Y'all got to be objective, guys. Y'all have to. Not everybody gonna sing a tune and love Aubrey Norton. Not everybody gonna love Nigel and so forth. But what we do here at 107.1 FM, we are objective. We are anti-corrupt PPP regime. And we have absolutely no apologies for that. And some of you in the opposition who are calling on your so-called friends and inboxing people to boycott Ben Shop Radio. It's not going to work. It's not. I'm just warning you guys. It's not going to work. And I'm out of here, all of you. Thank you all so much. God bless you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time, as you spread the word on our programs that we have here on Ben Shop Radio. 5 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. Wake up to a nice gospel show. Put you in that mood with Pastor Greenwich and his beautiful wife. I'm out of here. God bless you.
Take warning. You better take warning. Take warning. You better do good. Let your light shine bright. Let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning. You better take warning. Take warning. You better do good. Let your light shine bright. Let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. The evil that men do lives after them. The evil that men do lives after them. Your evil today will blight your tomorrow. So do good today and avoid your sorrow. Take warning. You better take warning. Take warning. You better do good. Let your light shine bright. Let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. Take warning. You better take warning. Take warning. You better do good. Let your light shine bright. Let your light shine right. Respect your fellow man as you should. The evil that men do lives after them. The evil that men do lives after them. Your evil today will blight your